Gusto ko pong sabihin sa inyo na for 11 years, hanggang ngayon po, hindi pa rin po ako nakakapag-decide. It's either magme-member ako or hindi po sa dating daan. Actually po, naka-attend na po ako ng 2 doktrina. Pero nung lumalalim na po siya, parang, Lord, hindi ko na po yata kayang sundin yung ibang doktrina. So, ang tanong ko po, sapat na po ba yung nakikinig ako sa inyo? Kasi naaalala ko rin po yung mga anak ko, baka ma-confuse sila dahil since nung pinanganak ko din sila, sinasama ko sila sa simbahan. And at the same time po, pinapa-attend ko sila, pinapasama ko sila sa mga kapatid ko na miyembro nyo po para paglalaki po nila, sila ang magdesisyon kung saan po nila gustong umattend. Ayoko po silang pilitin kung saan po ako nadon kasi iba-iba po tayo ng paniniwala. So, ang tanong ko po, sapat po ba na makinig na lang po ako sa inyo or kailangan po ba maging miyembro nyo po ako or kasi syempre po parang lumaki na ako sa pinaniniwalaan ko ngayon. So parang ang hirap pong iwanan sa akin. Hindi ko po alam kung tama po. Ano pong maipapayo niyo?
Basahin po natin sabi ng Biblia. Sabi ng Diyos, hindi ako. Pag nagalit kayo, sa Diyos kayo magagalit. Hindi sa akin. Basahin natin ang 2:13 ng Roma. Sapagkat hindi ang mga tagapakinig ng kautusan ang siyang mga ganap sa harapan ng Diyos, kundi ang nagsisitalima sa kautusan ay aariing mga ganap. For not the hearers of the law are just before God, but the doers of the law shall be justified. So it is not enough that we hear the law. We have to be doers of the law for us to be justified. Ang tagapakinig ng kautusan ng inaaring ganap, hindi yon. Kundi yung mga nagsisitalima sa kautusan ang aariing mga ganap. Yan po ang sagot ng Biblia. So sa tanong nyo, your question, is it enough that I hear the words of Brother Soriano and always hear his preaching? It is not enough. Because we have to be doers of what we have heard. If we hear only, but do not do, we are considered by God as liars. Let us read from the book of 1 John. It says, my little children, let us not love in word, neither in tongue, but in deed and in truth. Tagalogin nga nato.
Mumunti kong mga anak, huwag tayong magsiibig ng salita ni ng dilaman, kundi ng gawa at katotohanan.
See? Ang pag-ibig, hindi sa bibig lang sinasabi, ginagawa yun. If we love God, what are we going to do? 1 John 5:3, it says,
For this is the love of God, that we keep His commandments, and His commandments are not grievous.
oh, that is the love of God. If we love God, we will obey His commandments. We will not just listen to the commandments and let it go. No. If we really love God, we have to obey His commandments. Let us read that in Chinese. 5:3 of the book of 1 John, it says,
我们遵守神的诫命，这就是爱他了，并且他的诫命不是难守的。
See? If you love God, you will obey His commandments. It follows. If you love God, you have to obey. You do not just hear the commandment, but obey. Obey God. Obey His commandments. And if you are going to obey God's commandment, then you are going to leave your group. That is my frank statement unto you, sister. Pag susunod ka sa Diyos, iiwan mo yung grupo mo. Bakit? On earth, in this life, we have to accept things bitter. You know ampalaya? Bitter gourd. It's bitter. But God created that something which is bitter. There are things which are sweet. Sikwa. Sweet kung hindi nahulog. Di ba? Pakwan, matamis. Oh, meron namang maasim. Yun yung kamyas, sampalok. Tama rin, maasim. Meron namang maasim at matamis. Alin yun? Yung lansones. Diba? Meron naman, walang lasa. Matabang. Alin yun? Singkamas. Or the turnip. Meron naman so sweet. Alin yun? Yung sugar cane. Diba? You have to accept all of those. There are nutrients in sugar cane which you cannot get from the turnip. And there are nutrients in the bitter gourd which you cannot get from other vegetable. You see, let me inject this to you. There is one nation or one country in Africa whose people are meat eaters. Meat eaters. They are meat eaters. But noticeably, they do not have heart attacks there. But they are meat eaters. Why? Scientists investigated and they found out that when they eat, there is always a bitter herb that they eat with meat that prevents the proliferation of cholesterol, so they have no heart attack. See? Let me tell you another thing. Soya is produced more abundantly in the United States of America than in any other country in the world. Ang soya po ay napakarami sa Amerika. But the sad thing is, most Americans do not eat soya. Like the Chinese, the Singaporeans, and other nationalities do. In Japan, they are fond of eating soya, miso. They have that soya always. What's that? The tofu. Yan. And they have found out the incidence of colon cancer in America is very high. But in countries where soya is eaten very frequently, there is a lesser incidence of colon cancer. Why? Because there are nutrients in soya that prevents colon cancer. There are illnesses that is being prevented by taking bitter herbs. So there is something good in something that is bitter. So God created all these things. You have to accept all these things. What do I mean to say? Whether the teaching of God may be bitter or sour or sugary or sweet, you have to accept all the teachings of Christ, incorporate them in your being, and you will be saved. What do I mean? These preachers only pick some of the teachings of Christ, leaving behind so many teachings of Christ because they do not want to preach the truth because it will not make them much money. See? And the rest is history for you to analyze. That is it. Yun po ang masasabi ko sa inyo, mga